Hey, this is Blair with the Taylor team, and I've got Drew here, my lead buyer's agent. Today, we're going to talk about how you purchase a home when you already have one. It's something a lot of people are thinking about in this market right now, just because you've got a lot of people that want to do the sell buys, given the current interest rate and as good as the market is. So, Drew, first question I got for you is it a bad idea to find a home before selling your car?
So it depends. This starts with either talking to an agent or talking to the bank, because if you can buy one and not have it contingent, meaning it isn't based on your sale having to happen as well, then you still have good negotiation power. And it might be more convenient because you can find the house you're going to move into, and then after the fact, sell your other house. So you're not there for the showings. And the challenge is that most people are not in a position, or even if you're in a position you can make it work, it's not as advantageous based on the financial picture and interest rates and payments. So ideally, finding out whether or not you can actually buy it non-contingent. And then if you can, great, move forward. If not, it's typically best to sell first.
And that kind of leads us into our contingent offers, do's and don'ts, because there's obviously different types of contingency offers. So in your opinion, what is the best type of contingency offer and how do you structure that?
So the best one is going to be, ideally, we've got the sale under contract, and then we make a contingent offer on the purchase, because when I'm presenting an offer and the agent is asking questions about the sale, if it's not under contract, there's a part of that in the contract that says, is it binding with or without escape? And really all that means is, are we locking in the property for sure? So if we're doing it with escape, which is what they'll do if your house is not under contract, then pretty much anybody can come in and take that property from you. And it puts you in a really tough, a really weak negotiation point, because you really don't have a whole lot to push the seller with. You don't have much to be able to reduce the price or get it down.
One thing you mentioned to me before too is if you do get in a situation where you basically have a kick-out clause and you find your dream home and your home's not selling as fast as what you thought it would, it is an awful feeling to actually get booted out on the one that you like, versus when yours is under contract solidly and you don't have to have a kick-out clause. It just, for people's emotional stability, I think it's important to know that you for sure have that property.
Yeah, and it is heartbreaking. And really with the kick-out clause, what that means in simple terms is you've gone, we've gotten into the property, looked at it, we love it, we put a contract on it, and then somebody else, let's say 3 or 4 days go by, somebody else comes along, puts an offer on it, and because it's binding with escape, and that's all we could get with the seller, then they say, hey, we've accepted another offer. You have to fill out without selling your house or give up the property. And so you run around to the bank, you say, what can we do? You see if you can do a bridge loan. Yeah, and really more complicated, more expensive things. And ultimately, most of the time, you end up losing that house. And that's just so tough, because then when you get to the point of finding another one, none of them ever, it's always compared right back to the house, and they just...
That stinks for us too, by the way. That's good. So we want you to be happy. So how do we do this as far as timing and everything working in the favor of the buyer? How do we do that as far as...
Yes, well, I guess it's always the same concern. Like, I don't want to be homeless, or I don't want to end up forced into a house. And ultimately, when you look at it, you want to figure out, first of all, what you're even taking from your sale to your purchase, because a lot of times that factors into what you're buying and the payment. And if you don't know those things, it's hard to go in that reverse order. But if you're concerned about it, it's really just having a conversation with an agent to say, okay, generally, are there options? And if there's a rotating basis, since properties do so quickly, of 5 or 6 properties that fit what they want, or what you want, then you're going to be in a good spot to go ahead and get your place on the market for sale. And then when you get that offer on the sale side, we can do our best to give you, typically it's 30 to 45 days to close. So the goal is to get you 45 days. That way you've got 2 weeks to go out and find that new property, two and a half weeks to do that. And everyone always says, oh, that doesn't seem like a long time. Last week we had one, got their property on the market, went under contract on the sale. The same day they went under contract on the sale, they had looked at properties, found one, and now we're under contract. Yeah. And it was the same concern of like, well, we want to make sure we can find something we like. And ultimately, if there's zero properties, that fit what you want, that's a challenge. If there's 5 or 6 when you go to look, then it'll be a different 5 or 6. Yeah, it'll be similar 5 to 6. Yeah.
So, and what are some of the worst things that can happen if you don't do it in the right order?
Yeah, that's a pretty common question, because it's like, okay, well, it's really wouldn't be that big of a deal. Well, ultimately, it's little things. So it's a little thing on the purchase when you go out there and try to find one based on a house that's not under contract that you're selling. Then you give up negotiation power. So you're paying a full price. You're not asking for anything. You're begging them just to figure out how you can get your offer accepted, since yours isn't under contract. So you give up negotiation there,
right?
And typically thousands of dollars or more. Then on the sale side, so picture this: we find your dream home, we go under contract, and then you say, okay, Blair, let's get it on the market, or whoever. Okay, let's get it on the market. Let's get it sold. And then all of a sudden, you start pushing to say, well, we really got to get this house sold. We have to sell it. And then next thing you know, an offer comes in that now you've got 3 days to get your house under contract, or things go bad. You're like, hey, you know what? Let's reduce the price. We've got to do something. So you gave up money on the front end on the purchase side. You give up money on the back end, and you don't sleep for however many days while you're waiting for your house to sell. And so on both sides, you end up in a tough spot, and you lose, probably thousands of dollars on the purchase, thousands on the sale. Most of the time, it's just not worth it. And even then, it may not be financial. You may lose that property altogether and start over.
And you've done all that for nothing.
Yeah. And so it's just the emotional roller coaster. It's already a stressful thing in some ways, because it is the biggest purchase and biggest assets that we've typically got. And so just adding on top of that, these extra stressful things, that's why we stress so much. Like, even if you want to, the risk reward is not worth it, because ultimately doesn't usually end well.
Getting it in the right order is everything, and it makes your life easier. And I mean, that's what we're here for, and that's what good agents will do, is help you get that in the right order, so that way you're not stressed out, and you end up being able to negotiate the best that you can on both ends. Guys, if you have any other questions relating to this, or any other questions about selling and buying, that's what we're here for. So reach out to us at any point in time. Got our information below, and love to answer your questions and just kind of analyze your specific situation, see what we can do to help. So again, this is Blair, Taylor team, and this is Drew, and we look forward to talking with you.